What's going on, guys? Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. In today's video, I want to give you a news report, a second stimulus check update, and I want to address the new lockdowns or possible lockdowns that are currently happening. So let's get into it. Stimulus negotiations are still happening. They are happening very slowly, but they are still happening. This is the good thing. We are seeing Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, even Joe Biden kind of jump in a little bit and talk about stimulus. That's good. That's really good. But we need it quicker. We know Nancy Pelosi is still seeking her roughly $2.3 to $2.4 trillion stimulus package. We also know Mitch McConnell only wants to offer $1 trillion max, but he wants to start right around $500 to $600 billion. That's kind of his starting point, and he'll negotiate from there. But it's a $1 trillion max stimulus package, and that would include a stimulus check. But that would mean about $650 to $700 billion in new appropriations and about $300 in the leftover funding from the CARES Act. So this isn't a new $1 trillion plus $300 billion. This is $1 trillion total. And this has many people wondering why or how does the GOP, the Senate Republicans, believe we can get the economy back to where it once was, to pre-pandemic levels, with just $1 trillion. But that's currently where they stand. This is also why negotiations are most likely to drag on for months, because both parties are very set in their ways and are dragging their feet to meet the other party somewhere in the middle or a little bit closer to somewhere in the middle. Nancy Pelosi started at $3.4 trillion, has came down to $2.4 trillion, eventually came all the way down to $2.2 for a short time. And on the Republican side, they started at $500 billion. They went up to, I believe it was like $700 or $800 billion, went up to $1 trillion, 1.2, 1.5, 1.6, then ultimately ended at $1.88 trillion. But that package is not on the table anymore. Experts believe the reason why these negotiations will most likely drag on for months. We could see something happen sooner, but that would all depend on President Trump. Right now, the most likely outcome, based on reports, is that they believe the only two people with power right now to change their party's perspective and their ultimate number is either President Trump or President-elect, or President whatever to be, or whatever you want to call him, Vice President Joe Biden. Those are two people. Right now, based on our reports, President Trump doesn't seem to want any part of stimulus negotiations or really anything outside of the election results. That's really all he's focused on. That and golfing. So that's what the reports are saying, is that right now, Joe Biden is looking like the most likely president to sign a stimulus package, which would mean this will not come until the end of January, when Joe Biden finally comes into office. This is why we will most likely have to wait months for another stimulus relief package. We do not know what exactly is going to be in that stimulus package. We will most likely know sometime this coming week as to what really stimulus negotiators are thinking, especially once the House of Representatives comes back to Washington on Monday. But we do know stimulus checks are a priority for Democrats. They are considered important for Republicans, but they are not deemed essential. This is the varying views. Democrats think stimulus checks are highly important. They're essential for the American family and the American people. Republicans, on the other hand, say PPP funding for businesses are essential. Testing, tracing, vaccine, that's essential. Maybe some money for state and local governments is essential. Funding for schools and funding for things like state and local government, or maybe unemployment, or liability protections for businesses, those are essential. This is where the values differ, and this is why stimulus negotiations are going to drag on. However, at this time, stimulus might be the last thing on many people's minds, and here's the reason why. Right now, we're getting multiple reports. If you look across the internet, go to Google and type in shutdown or type in lockdown. You're going to see multiple reports stating that governors are not happy with the way the American people and the public have handled the surging COVID cases. Currently, multiple cities are on the verge of lockdowns once again. Let me just give you an idea of a few of these cities. San Francisco is ordering restaurants to stop all indoor dining for the foreseeable future beginning on November 13th, which is this Friday. In New York, Governor Cuomo has announced that all restaurants and bars that hold liquor licenses will be required to shut down nightly at 10 p.m. This also begins on Friday, November 13th. Nevada's Governor Steve Sisolak is telling all Nevadans to stay home as much as possible right now. That's a quote. In order to reduce the spread of COVID and bring rates back down. He went on to state, I quote, "I'm not bluffing. I'm not playing a game. We are in a very crucial point right now." And this is the common feeling among governors right now across the United States, is there must be a change. Something has to happen. Something drastic has to happen, because if it doesn't and cases keep surging, cases keep going up, hospitalizations will soon follow, which means eventually states will begin lockdowns. Just to give you an idea of how many COVID cases Nevada has seen in the past 7 days, the United States as a whole, as of yesterday, November 10th, saw 139,855 new cases. Nevada reported 1,279 new cases. Nevada was seeing roughly 650 new cases per day just a couple weeks ago, a very short time ago. As of today, they are averaging 1,150 new COVID cases per day. That is a 77% increase. And that right there is why the governor is not happy about their COVID cases. Governor Sisolak said he wants the numbers to begin dropping within 2 weeks. He went on to state, I quote, "I'm not going to come back in 2 weeks and say I'm going to give you another chance, because I'm not going to give you another chance." In short, Nevada has a very high chance in 2 weeks, the day before Thanksgiving. Nevada has a very good chance of shutting down. And I say this, I want to bring this to your attention, because this is not just Nevada. This is all across the United States. And for far too long, people have been saying, we will not see another shutdown. We will not see another widespread lockdown. But I'm here to tell you that it can and it will happen. We are already seeing signs of it. Right now, we are seeing modified shutdowns and partial restrictions. If COVID cases keep surging and deaths keep rising, then hospitals will reach capacity, and when this happens, a large-scale shutdown is most likely the outcome. Even Dr. Michael Osterholm, a COVID advisor for Joe Biden, he said a nationwide lockdown would bring the virus under control. What he is stating is that the government should ultimately pass a stimulus package that would provide money and allocate money to individuals, small businesses, and even state and local governments, so that they could afford to shut down for between 4 to 6 weeks. Yes, this is exactly what he's saying. Now, I don't anticipate anything like this to happen. I do not anticipate the government to come out in the next couple of weeks and say, we're going to give all individuals a $3,000, $4,000 stimulus check so they can stay home for the next 4 to 6 weeks. That's just not going to happen. Republicans would never agree to this. They would never get the support. So because of this, then again, they're saying that really what's going to happen is these states are going to have to shut down, a mandatory lockdown for their residents. And they are not going to allow the state to say any essential business can continue to run. That's not the way it's going to work. And they say this because in Wisconsin, back in March, okay, back in April, May, March, whatever, back in that point in time when there were lockdowns, in Wisconsin, they deemed 78% of their businesses as essential. 78% of businesses would never be essential. And so this is what they're saying is, if this happens, there will be widespread lockdown, which means clinics, hospitals, grocery stores, and those types of businesses would be the only things deemed essential. And if this happens, the economy is going to be in a world of hurt. So right now, what we need to do is we need to wear a mask. We have to wear a mask. Whether we like to, whether we think they are effective or not, we need to wear a mask. We need to wear a mask. We need to social distance, wash our hands, okay, do whatever. Stay away from sick people. Stop congregating in large locations, whatever. We need to do this stuff, whatever we can right now. Because if we don't, we will see a large-scale shutdown very soon. Even President Trump's lawyer, okay? Now, I'll explain that in a second, but in addition to, President Trump has some legal issues going on right now. He's suing a lot of states. And currently at the same time, we don't hear much from him other than the election results and the election being, fraudulent. There's some wrongdoings, and that's what we hear from him. On the other side, we hear Joe Biden say, we need to wear our mask. He is planning on, one of the first things he's going to do when he's in office is to pretty much make it have a mask mandate. But right now, it's very difficult. He's trying to, according to reports, Joe Biden's administration is trying to get in touch with President Trump and the Trump administration to try to coordinate a transfer of power. And it's not working. President Trump just does not seem to be willing to work with him, whether he will ultimately be the next president or maybe President Trump gets reelected. We don't know. But right now, President Trump does not seem to be willing to work with anybody that is not willing to help him with being reelected. One thing we did hear is that right now, the reason why Senate Republicans are not going off and supporting Joe Biden just yet. Because some do support him, but they're not going to publicly state they support him because they need President Trump to help the Senate Republicans regain control of the Senate. And the only way to do that is to have President Trump go and campaign in Georgia, which Joe Biden can do this, and Joe Biden is not opposed to doing this, but they're saying right now they need President Trump to go and campaign for them in Georgia so that they can get those 2 last Senate seats. If they can do that, they will hold the majority of the Senate, and they will continue to run it for the next couple years. If not, and those 2 seats go to Democrats, then it would be a 50-50 split, and Kamala Harris would be the deciding factor. In addition to everything that's going on with President Trump, President Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, predicts that President Trump will not return to the White House after he spends Christmas at Mar-a-Lago at his resort in Florida, which pretty much signals that President Trump has all but checked out. Right now, this is all what we know. But as always, consider subscribing so that I can keep you updated on everything new that is happening in regards to stimulus and all the updates going on here in this country. So right now, I just want to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you have a wonderful Veterans Day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.